Here we go, race 7 of the Prada Cup final. INEOS Team UK, Luna Rossa, Prada Pirelli, almost perfect conditions, a building wind. Who does that favour, INEOS Team UK or Luna Rossa, Prada Pirelli? Another amazing spectator fleet out on the water, ready to see this one unfold. And you can just imagine, look at that spectator fleet for a start now, virtual eye giving us a perfect view of the stadium course. But Kenny, what's going through the mind of all three helmsmen right now?
Well, just get a good start. I think they can compartmentalize a race day down to the fine moment, Shirley, and that is to get it sorted and get a good start, because without a good start, nobody's going to win this race, as shown by the last 5 or 6 races that we've seen.
Coming up here, upwind sailing, upwind sailing. I was looking at the wrong mark. Okay, good there. Just a fast mode here.
This is race 3. The wind sampling period is complete, and this race will start on schedule.
We are a go.
Good news. I think the British boat will be quite relieved. The forecast for today was initially quite light, but just look at it. We're seeing between 10 and 13, 14 knots. The hope of a little bit more to come. So massive relief for Britannia.
We talked earlier about starts. Get the start right, it goes a heck of a long way to winning the race. I wonder what the mindset is of Sir Ben Ainslie on port entry today. Giles Scott sort of suggested in the press conference yesterday that they quite like port entry to control the start.
Well, I don't know if they're controlling the start, but certainly they're controlling that turn back, that critical turn back. You force the other boat into making that big ultimate decision. Do you want to lead or do you want to push? They all have playbooks. There's no question about it. And yesterday, Luna Rossa pulled a new trick out of the bag. There's no question in my mind that they showed us something, and they showed Ben Ainslie something he had never seen before. So let's see if they got another trick up their sleeve. I wouldn't be shocked if they did.
Jimmy Spittle was saying that their technique, their handling is very good and very smooth. That has gone a long way to put them in the position they are now.
Every day, Stephen, they're better and better, and they're showing us more and more tricks. I mean, they're really getting to grips with this AC75. It's a joy to watch.
2 minutes and 19 seconds counting to port entry. That will be 2 minutes and 10 seconds for INEOS Team UK on port entry. And as you can see, they are flying in at something like 41.5 Ks into port entry. And then they come. Look at the right-hand side of your screen. 2 minutes that Luna Rossa, Prada Pirelli allowed into the pre-start. And as we keep saying, it's all on right here. 2 minutes to decide who gets the start right.
A little different move right away by the British, by going really super deep down into the box. Shirley, again, these are not just random plays we're seeing right now. For the viewership around the world, we're seeing sailing like we've never seen before, and these pre-starts are the perfect example.
Yeah, I agree. There's no winging it in these starts. This will have been a play that they've discussed and practiced.
Killing 50, 16 to boundary. Okay. 15 to crossing out.
If he joins with tank.
Yeah, by port down. 2-1 port down.
Yeah, probably tanking here, Jimmy.
Copy that. Tanking here.
He's on committee lane like that.
No eyes on him. Yeah. Stoking here. Starboard lane 5 is 2. 3.
So you can already hear on board Prada that they were anticipating where their competitor is on the race course, where they are on the lay line, which is that straight line back to the starting line in the upper left-hand side of our screen. Here comes that push.
Time and distance to the start, critical. Luna Rossa, Prada Pirelli have been almost masters at it. What's on?
No lower, no lower.
Yeah, he'll be late. We've got a little bit to defend.
Up a little.
Ready to trim up here? Got us racing at the pen. No, we're racing.
I'm really surprised that Luna Rossa gave up that distance, Shirley. That seemed like distance they didn't need to give up.
Full speed, boys. Build here.
Should be good here. Got you just on time. Maybe just a little kill to do here. Little kill.
Yeah, down a touch. No, full focus on speed here.
11, 10,
It's
9,
charging big time.
8, high pitch.
Let's go all the way. Trimming up.
5, 4, 3, 2, One.
Okay, lefty
start.
face,
Your pitch.
yeah.
Race 7, Prada Cup final is underway. No argy-bargy, clean by both.
Same now.
I was very surprised that Luna Rossa gave up that distance to windward as early as they did. I thought they had a chance to kind of hang up there and start further gapped off to weather. This is a very vulnerable spot for the Italians.
It looked like a moment of slight indecision. They thought maybe we'll go for the hit, and then realized it was too late.
Nathan, you're right out next to these boats right now. Are you surprised that they dove into this position? But it seems like they're hanging pretty well right now.
Yeah, I was going to say, I think we've all discussed that they gave up a lot of leverage there, but they're actually doing a great job. We're just next to them, hanging on the hip. They're going to try and take this all the way to boundary. And lots of flashing now, so both boats about to tack, and it's all about your exit of this tack for these two boats. I'd expect Luna Rossa going to put the high mode on him pretty quickly and try and squeeze him out.
Very well done by Spithill that whole way across. They were in an incredibly vulnerable spot up to the helicopter in the sky. Paul Goodison, were you surprised that Luna Rossa could hang in that spot all the way to the boundary?
Yeah, a little surprised they managed to stay in there as well as they did. It's going to be interesting going across here with the setup we have today. There's going to be a bit of a right bend around Rangitoto into the channel, so we'll expect a small right shift as we get over here, and I'd expect it to become quite difficult for INEOS to hang in on this this long port tack.
Any time here to attack.
2, 1, board down.
From the hunter to the hunted, that whole starboard tack line out there to the boundary, and INEOS was seemingly in control. They couldn't shake the Italians, Shirley, and all of a sudden the Italians really have the upper hand.
Italians on the right-hand side. We heard in the comms before the race that there were some options on that side. The outgoing tide as well is stronger on the right-hand side. So at the moment, well played by Jimmy Spithill and Francesco Bruni.
You would almost call that quite a composed start. Didn't win the start, but very composed and getting to do what they wanted to do.
I think they had a fair chance to lose this start, and they really kind of salvaged something out of nothing there. That was really quite impressive. Nathan, it kind of shows that high mode that we've seen with the Italian boat from time to time. That was kind of special what they did.
Yeah, very special. But man, they just stuffed up their tack there. They just had a bad tack, big splashdown. Looks like they've been able to get back up on the foil, but they tacked right on top of INEOS there. But yeah, Kenny, they have recovered. They've got quite a good control in this race. But what you're talking about is that high mode they have is very powerful. You know, to be able to live all the way to the boundary like that was very impressive, and that's a mode that INEOS don't seem to have in these conditions.
Yeah, we're seeing this splashdown that you were just referenced, not the smoothest tack in the world, but I guess if you're going to have a bad tack, you have a bad tack right on the air of your competitor. You know, they have all places to have a bad tack, not so bad.
So poor tack by Luna Rossa, Prada Pirelli. Are we seeing subtleties, small signs of a little bit of pressure being told?
Well, Goody, as we look down right now, we were looking at 12, 13 knots of breeze, but it sure doesn't feel like that on the water. Could we have had a little bit of lightening of the breeze, or is it still okay?
I think it looks a little lighter in general than it did just before the start, but there's quite a distinctive tide line that just went straight through the middle of the start. A real clear definition in the watercolor change between the right-hand side and the left-hand side. So you'd expect to see the boats on the right just get a little gain upwind.
Okay, got it.
This is the first leg of 6 in the 7th race of the Prada Cup final. Luna Rossa, Prada Pirelli with a slight lead at this particular point in time, leading this regatta 5-1. They only need 2 more, but big day today. A huge spectator fleet out on the Hauraki Gulf, but this is a monster day.
Yeah. Okay, pressure building at 3. Speed's good. He's not going to lay, right? Copy.
No. Then we just follow him left, huh?
No obvious reason to early jibe other than the split, Ben, pressure-wise.
Yeah. Copy, mate. Let's keep pushing here, boys. Try and get back in.
3, 2, One, more down.
If you're a British fan, that is not a sight you want to see. There's no question about that. A dominant positioning by Luna Rossa, and one and into the left gate to the gate at the bottom of our screen, and INEOS is going to have to follow him right in.
Luna Rossa going through the top gate for the first time in this 7th race with a lead on INEOS Team UK. That despite a poor tack halfway up the course. Down and up they were, and down they go on the first downwind leg.
My wheel.
Yeah, copy.
In comes INEOS Team UK.
1, down hard, easy. Yeah. Okay.
Small margins at the moment after the first gate, 16 seconds.
Definitely better down this boundary, unfortunately.
Yeah.
Okay.
You're already talking, Shirley, about chances to split, places to split. Usually you're patient this time in the race, but Goody, we're looking down on the course. This is the race course that really doesn't have a lot of shifts, does it? It's really kind of either persistent or kind of one side favors. Not a lot of chances at passing from the wind shift standpoint.
No, you're right there, Kenny. It's very much as just a stable breeze across the course. We're seeing slightly softer on the right-hand side of the top, but in general it's just right shifted at the top, the left shifted at the bottom as it just bends around Rangitoto and goes back up the channel. We're seeing pretty stable pressure here. I think it's going to be a boat speed race from here on in.
Okay, main on, 31s. Yeah, just reading 12 knots still, but...
We fully powered up, boys.
It's a lot lighter, Kenny. We're seeing readings of 8, 9 knots at the top of the course.
Going well the boat here, guys.
Let's go on board Luna Rossa.
I like to be slightly fast, like we are doing. Is good, Pietro. Good. Yeah. Righty face. Eventually, I will take the throttle and you check, but so far I think we stay. He stayed, we stay. A little bit of a rebuild, small rebuild.
Watching Francesco Bruni look behind him at the competitor quite a bit. I mean,
You beat me to it. Is that the first time we've seen him look behind?
Well, it probably is, but it also shows a comfort that they have in sailing their boats. I don't think, I mean, go back to watching, Goody and American Magic and Dean Barker holding on for dear life on that boat for sometimes, Goody. These guys are just kind of out in a walk in the park, it seems like. They've really gotten control of these animals, these AC-75s.
Yeah, for sure. It's quite forgiving conditions at the moment. This 10 to 12 knots are probably where the boats are the easiest to sail. A little less than this, it gets a bit stressful. And then not until you get over 15 does it really start the heart racing again. It'd be interesting to see what Francesco's heart rate is right now. I heard a rumor that it was slightly higher than Chris Brittle's the other day, which made me chuckle.
Okay, pressure's coming. Yep. Feels like nice this side, just on our hip. Staying a little bit hotter here, bleds. Good get up the speed and then work it down. Right now it's one on the left, boys.
Keep an eye on that ley line, obviously, Ben.
Left,
yeah. But we just want to not go too far to the right though after we've rounded.
No, no problem. If he does a JK, I go early tech. No problem.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So look at the heart rates. Sorry, Kenny, there are the heart rates. Francesco Bruni sitting around, 122, and Jimmy Spittle at 79. Looking on. Well, he's fit. He's fit.
They're getting a defibrillator out for Spithill right now.
No, not at all. It was down around 40. You probably get it out there, but.
Where's the big man, Chris Brittle, sitting at the big grinder at the front of INEOS? I bet he's up there right now.
The lead around 270 metres on the first downwind leg of this 7th race in the Prada Cup final. Luna Rossa, Prada Pirelli in control. They're heading towards this bottom gate for the first time.
Nathan, you got to be thinking a split at this stage, right? You got to be thinking something, because I don't think you're going to beat that Prada boat just by following them around the track and being patient at this stage. What do you think?
Yeah, they definitely need a split, but you heard Francesco Bruni saying down there, if they JK, they tack straight around this mark, I just tack and match them. They're not going to get a split. Prada is not going to allow a split, so they can try as much as they want, but it's not happening.
Bottom gate for the first time. Luna Rossa, Prada Pirelli, still controlling the 7th race. And as we have said on numerous occasions, as this team has got better and better, nice smooth rounding of the mark, and away they go on leg number 3 of race number 7. It was 16 seconds at the top gate. And not too much more as INEOS Team UK come around the bottom gate. Maybe a 5-second game and not the best drive around by INEOS Team UK. 21 seconds the deficit.
Shirley, it shows how smooth these boats have gotten, though. We're calling that not a great rounding. That's a brutally hard maneuver that they just pulled off and had a tiny little splashdown. Looked pretty good to me. Maybe not the perfection that Mr. MacGyver here is expecting.
The bustle just kissed the water. They survived well. You know, both these boats set out with a slightly smaller jib, expecting more breeze. And I wonder if this is also hurting INEOS. You know, they need power in these lighter conditions, and currently look to be slightly struggling.
He's stacking.
Yeah, a little further and just dig into this left.
Yeah, I agree.
They're sailing like a faster boat. I mean, it's really not. Your mentality of how you cover, where you position your boat, everything else. If you feel comfortable in your boat speed, man, oh man, everything comes easy.
I'll tell you what's comfortable is the communication between Jimmy Spittle and Francesco Bruni at the moment. Let's see if we can grab a bit of it.
Nice stack, boys.
They're tasting the blood in the water, Shirley. I hate to say this, but you can hear it in the tone of their voice. It just feels a little different.
I think we keep doing this soft coverage, protecting the left in general.
Yeah, copy.
Ben Ainsley admitted in the press conference yesterday that if the breeze is under 30 knots,
no rush. Even if the
it's a challenge.
Would one be so bold as say, was that
good balance
the
here,
white
boys.
flag at half mast?
No, I think he's trying to be a realist, and you know, the rhetoric kind of fits the crime here, so to speak. You know, they're looking for some rallying cry to be the underdog, and these guys are saying, no, both boats are the same speed, no big deal. So again, the rhetoric kind of fits what each of them have to talk about.
Well, the response by Jimmy Spittle is, I'm happy with the boat in all conditions. That was it. Say no more. Luna Rossa, Prada, Pirelli.
Nothing to worry about.
As you can see here, Francesco Bruni, top right of that screen. That bow camera. God, gosh, I love that shot.
Stand by in 3. Holding 1. We go a little bit more so that we secure the one and in after.
Right mark and early jump.
Stand by in 3, 2, 1. 4 down.
Out to Paul Goodison up in the helicopter. They're talking about two things, Paul. They're talking about the left side of the course all of a sudden they like a little bit more, which is interesting. And then the other thing is they're talking about the geometry of the race course already, how the geometry works and how many tacks they're actually going to do into the top gate. Can you just take people through how that software works?
Sorry, just getting stuck high.
Yes, you have a software up in front of you of how many more tacks before you make the gate. And really smart call there by the guys on Prada. They were just about to tack. They realized that if they went another 50, 100 meters, it opened up one more tack before the top gate after the one they were into there. So it just means that they're securing that it's not costing them an extra maneuver before they get to the top. And just looking at the course, even though the tide's turned on the right-hand side now, it still looks like this left side is just more consistent pressure, more even. It goes a little bit against the right shift at the top of the course, but it's, I guess as the breeze gets lighter, it's more about the slight bit of extra pressure rather than the shift.
That was the voice of Paul Goodison, gold medalist, mainsail trimmer for American Magic. He's in our helicopter, our eye in the sky. Nathan Average out on chase boat number 1. As you see, we're following at the moment and going on board with INEOS Team UK, who are having to be the hunter right now of Luna Rossa on this third leg of 6 and race 7 of the Prada Cup final.
27. Just go one and in here.
Okay, boys. And 3, 2, 1. Here we go.
My rake, my drop.
Just look at the engine room do its job. I think you were the one, Kenny, who said earlier with these tacking jewels, those boys are absolutely knackered by the end of a race.
Yeah, the grinding world championships, we called it a week or so ago. It's really, it's a different world. They're pumping hydraulic fluid for the most part and accumulating hydraulic pressure, so everything from the water line up can be trimmed properly.
So we do right gate, potential early jibe, boys. But let's settle first, okay?
Just so good when you've got 14 microphones and 10 cameras on board each boat to know exactly what is going on. And you heard Francesco Bruni telling everybody around the world exactly what they're going to do. Luna Rossa, Prada Pirelli, halfway through this 7th race, getting one step closer.
Good course.
To the match. It's not done yet, though. So half distance completed. Leg number 3 for Luna Rossa.
Maybe out of jibe before him.
Around they go.
For sure. Yeah.
Nice and easy. Sunday afternoon on the harbour.
Nice stretch out here, Shirley. And I'll tell you what, Mr. Bruni's, for a guy whose heart rate is at 122, sounds pretty calm, cool, and collected to me. It's actually phenomenal.
They are just stretching this lead all the time.
INEOS Team UK approaching the halfway mark of this 7th race. And that, as Shirley quite rightly says, that lead has extended to Luna Rossa, Prada Pirelli. INEOS Team UK, top gate.
Okay, this is course for 10.
And it's gone over
5
a minute now.
4, 3, 2, 1. Big down.
1 minute and 7 seconds on the downward leg. Leg number 4 of 6.
So Nathan, in this wind strength, when are you, let's put yourself in Peter Burling's shoes for a second. You think they're impressed? You think they're nervous? You think they got them? What do you think? If we're slightly looking ahead. We still got a race to go here, but this is a very impressive performance here in this wind strength. And this is the predominant wind strength this time of year, right?
It is the predominant wind strength. You know, 10 knots is a pretty nice, light sort of sea breeze that we get throughout the month of March. There's a great question, what are Team New Zealand thinking right now? I know that this series is not over, but you asked me the question, and for the hour before racing, Team New Zealand were doing laps and pre-start practice on this race course. They're now actually off to the left of the race course. They're up near Tirri sailing themselves. So I thought that they were going to stop and watch this race and observe. I guess they figured they'll watch the broadcast back and get all the details from our brilliant commentary. But right now, they are out there right now doing their own thing, improving themselves. So I don't think they're really watching that too closely today, but for sure that they know the boat that will be coming up against them, and they'll be getting prepared for that.
Give yourself a wrap, pal.
Got to talk it up when you can, don't you, Stephen?
In general,
Goody, you've been looking at these mainsails for a long time, you know, more than any of us. When you look at Prada's Aero, when you look at their sail plan, what do you think? What do they have?
It just looks super smooth. They obviously do a really nice job of the seal to the deck. There's a little bit of a theory that they have a boom underneath the deck that's disclosed to hide everything on, but the way it seals to the deck is nice. But the big thing is, it's not just the bottom meter that's important, it's a whole sail, and they do quite a nice job of generating power when they need to, and flattening the sail plan off really fast when it's required. But I think what we're seeing out here right now is that out of the two boats, they have similar area sails, but the Italian boat just manages to deal with having slightly less power. They just look a little bit more slippery through the water and don't look like they need to generate those big cambers to power the boat forward, whereas INEOS looks just really underpowered at the moment. They're the guys who you see with the smaller jibs on seem to suffer earlier, and I think that's what's the difference is right now.
Better pressure now.
As this lead stretches out, Nathan, back to that Team New Zealand question. You know, they're actually jumping in on this race course probably to get their own data on the race course, and then they see all the TV data after these races. They have something to compare one for one with, don't they?
Yeah.
Yeah, there's a huge advantage being the defender. They do laps of this course before and after these races. They try to do that in the same wind strength, and what that means is that they know how they stack up compared to these two boats. But these two boats have no idea how they stack up against the defenders. So New Zealand might not be getting any of the race practice or training, but they're getting a good idea of performance comparisons, which these teams aren't getting.
It's good to be the defender, Shirley.
I think he's a faster lane.
Gotta make the rules.
Luna Rossa approaching the bottom gate to complete the 4th leg of race number 7. They have stretched the lead on INEOS Team UK in front of a magnificent spectator fleet, as you can see on our virtual eye. It really is a stadium watch for everybody out there, and for you at home, wherever you are watching around the world. As Luna Rossa gets set to round that bottom gate and start on leg number 5. Just like a board lap. That's what that rounding was.
Smooth and slick.
It's a little lefty again. Same lefty as we had before. You will be
2, 1,
driving.
4 down.
Okay, no problem.
Turning.
I wouldn't call that a rambunctious crossing of the deck by Mr. Ainsley right there, Shirley.
34's my pitch. Yep. How's pressure
INEOS
look out
Team
that
UK into the bottom gate
Yeah, it looks good.
to finish leg number 4. It was approximately 1 minute and 7 seconds at the top gate. It picked up a little bit of time. Just a little bit of time, but when you look at that, the speed of these AC75s, they need a lot more than that. 1 minute and 2 seconds. Picked up 5, but let's be blunt, it's probably not going to be enough.
We talked about it in the pre-show, Shirley, the perfection that these boats have slowly developed over time. We used to talk about a 1 mistake lead or a 2 mistake leads, expecting that mistake, anticipating that mistake. They just don't happen anymore.
No, we're not seeing. Think back pre-Christmas, we didn't know what to expect. The mistakes just came thick and fast. But now, the way they sail these boats, both teams, it's extraordinary.
Perfect example. First leg, bad tack. Luna Rossa, Prada Pirelli. Pre-Christmas, that could have been a game changer. Down, up, move on. Thanks for coming.
Yeah, it's it really is traditional in these new crazy classes. We saw the same thing in Bermuda, Nathan, didn't we? Where you know, the boats were super unpredictable early on in the series in Bermuda, and then as it went along, remember the old flight time? We had 100% flight times very often near the end. We're kind of seeing the same thing here, aren't we?
Yeah, we are. The way that the America's Cup's always worked is it's a design race. It's generally about the fastest boat. So you spend 2-3 years designing, testing to make the boat go faster. You're not ever really doing any race training. These teams haven't been able to do any race training except against their chase boats. So when they came here in December, that was the first time they got to line up against another boat. And so the race mistakes come in. So we're commentating, being very critical of them not being very good at racing when, honestly, they've spent 3 years only on performance. And right now, you can see why. One boat is faster than the other. You know, so the 3 years of development on making sure those foils, those sails, those systems on board are as good as they can be is what's deciding the race. So I guess the way that it always works is the sailors just have to work out how to sail and race these boats, but they really rely on the design team and the engineers to come up with clever solutions to make the boats go fast. And it's a collaboration of the two things, and that's why the America's Cup is such a unique challenge and a huge team effort.
You know, the most surprising thing, I'm going to use the word surprising thing about the performance of Luna Rossa, all up till the Prada Cup final, let us be blunt, they were nothing flash. They weren't setting the world on fire, and suddenly, surely, when it matters, boom.
I mean, just as Nathan said, you know, they'd spent all that time developing the boat, and there was certainly potential in the boat. We saw glimmers of greatness, but they couldn't tame the beast. And as the weeks have gone on, it's just got tighter and tighter and smoother.
I can remember Jimmy Spittle coming, was it just pre-Christmas or just post-Christmas, saying, and they'd just finished the race and going, and talking to Francesco going, mate, we're on the edge. We're right on the edge. And it was almost a sense of, I'm not so sure how far we can push this boat. Right now, they're going, well, let's just keep pushing it because they have incredible confidence in their platform.
Yep, same plan as before. Swan on there.
In any yacht race, Kenny, when you know
coming up a little now.
You have the speed edge, it's a joy. You can do whatever you want, go wherever you can.
You know why, Stephen?
Because a slow boat has never won the America's Cup.
Attaboy, attaboy.
Tank 17 bleds, copy. Rolling windward. 26s.
So this is race 7 of the Prada Cup final. Luna Rossa, Prada, Pirelli have 5 wins. As it stacks up right now, that'll go to number 6. And then they're 1 step away, 1 win away from the match.
Just getting there.
Just got to know what's going on in Ben Aze's head right now.
Yeah.
I think it was really showing in that last cross. We saw him run across the boat. He kind of did it kind of half speed. Listen, he's on a...
Yeah, it's 27.
We don't know for sure, but mentally he's on to the next race. This race is over, Shirley, don't you think?
Hold ahead and go soft.
Maybe if the conditions had been different, but as you say, Ben Ainsley's a realist. They know the performance profile of their machine, and today it just didn't roll their way. It's light winds. They know they've got issues with that.
Gonna make it anyway.
Let's not raise the white flag yet as we complete leg number 5 for Luna Rossa, Prada, Pirelli, and they will head on the downward leg, the home leg in race number 7.
Lower than this. This is good though.
No rush.
2, 1, all good.
Sweet. Just like that, around they go and head home. Luna Rossa, Prada, Pirelli, the challenger of record, moving a little bit closer to the big show, the America's Cup.
Yep.
You'll see him setting up. That's
crossing.
Copy. Yes, I can see.
2.
Stand by, boys.
Down.
3, 2, 1. Go down.
Get aboard.
We'll let these guys commentate for a little bit. It's fantastic to hear the action on board, of course, but when it gets spread out like this, it becomes a little more, I guess, predictable.
Yep, 26s.
The one that you can guarantee, it'll be pretty quiet on board Luna Rossa. Maybe a little more animated as we sit right now with INEOS Team UK.
Pressure here.
Copy.
This idea, you want to try and get around out there, don't we? Better pressure.
Yeah, I think so, yeah.
Okay, let's see if we can get there.
Yeah.
Not sure we are.
Yeah, copy. The 26 is there. I think we just build.
Yeah, building here for attack.
My pitch. Yep.
Set up, lads.
Okay, crossing. Ready.
2, 1, ports down.
INEOS Team UK.
Yep. Powering up 22s.
Okay.
3s.
Taking a little bit of height.
Finally getting through that top gate for the last time. And that lead, let us be honest, has blown out.
29s. Settle land.
1 minute and 45 seconds deficit. That was a heck of a lead for Luna Rossa. Not so for INEOS Team UK.
It's going to go back to that start where Luna Rossa really had an average, maybe below average start, right? And they hung in there right to the first edge and actually leave out them coming. We hadn't seen that before. That was actually, I thought that was a remarkable 45 seconds or so, Shirley, that these guys really showed a bit of dominance, that height mode in the light stuff that we've seen bits and pieces of. That was pure power. That was amazing.
if it had been the other way around, INEOS would not have survived there. But as you say, Luna Rossa have modes, they have options. And as they're getting more and more familiar, more comfortable with their boat, we're just seeing more and more of that. Goody, final leg. What are you seeing from the helicopter? What's left in this race?
Just looks like it's getting lighter. It looks like it's almost over, I think, unfortunately for the INEOS guys in this race. They got to look at the next race and fingers crossed the breeze builds a bit. I think they were a little unfortunate with the more pressure before the start, talked them into the smaller jib, and they look like they're paying for that a lot harder than the Italian boat. Again, the most critical part was how well the Italians held the lane out of the start. It just really showing up the difference in performance between the two boats in these lighter conditions.
Goody, you were part of American Magic for nearly 4 years. You know, how hard do you think this day is for INEOS, knowing how much effort has gone into it all?
Yeah, it's hard. The pressure's on, but you're still looking at each race at a time. They're still going to be thinking on the INEOS boat, we have another race to get this right. We have to be more aggressive in the starts. We have to try and get in front and make it hard for the Italians. But when you're sailing a boat in these conditions, it's a little bit better. It gets very difficult.
It was quite surprising there wasn't much RG in the start. Well, we were expecting more as to what we saw yesterday. I personally was just a little surprised, knowing how important today is.
I mean, the British boat nailed the start. They had a play the way it was going to pan out, and Jimmy Spittle just didn't really engage.
They had a plan, and they have a plan. Jimmy Spittle, Francesco Bruni, Luna Rossa, Prada Pirelli, the challenger of record. And they are about to win race number 7 of the Prada Cup final and take a 6-1 lead in this regatta. They can smell the America's Cup match. They are across the line. Luna Rossa, Prada Pirelli with win number 6. They have signaled their intentions. They're showing Emirates Team New Zealand and the rest of the sailing world, they are here to play, and they will play hard.
Good recovery. Couple things off the boat there. Good recovery, first of all, for obviously. But the second thing is they got this down to such a science that they jibed at the finish line to, quote, set themselves up for the next pre-start. So they're already thinking about the next pre-start. That's the detail that has gone into sailing these boats and preparing these boats to do battle. I thought that was very interesting.
Also, hardly even a well done. I mean, I've never seen such a calm Italian unit before. They're definitely taking it one race at a time.
There won't be too much chat on board INEOS Team UK. In fact, look at the body language of Subenense. He just pretty much just ambled across to that starboard wheel. The question now is, can they win the last race of the day to stay alive? They have to win. They have to win every race now.
I would have placed them off that starting line in a really good spot. And the fact of the matter is they couldn't make that spot 6. Really shows how much improvement Luna Rossa has made.
INEOS Team UK finish race number 7, but they finish in a place they don't want to be. That is second, and second gives you nothing. One more race. They've got to win race number 8. Otherwise, it's over. A beautiful day on the Hauraki Gulf, that iconic Rangitoto framing the race course. And here is the final result. Luna Rossa, Prada Pirelli win race number 7, take a 6-1 lead by 1 minute and 45 seconds. Race number 8, Luna Rossa Prada Pirelli, INEOS Team UK. The team on the left, so close, they can smell the match. It's a different story on INEOS Team UK. It must be an incredibly hard feeling to be on that boat, knowing now you have to win every race to make it to the America's Cup. Let's go up high with Paul Goodison. There was a suggestion, Paul, while you're up in that helicopter, that Ben Ainsley might be a little more brutish in this start.
I think it's got to be. There's not many options left. You see now they've pulled up the J1, the biggest size jib. You're looking at wind, and it doesn't really look much different from the race before. So it's a real tough situation. You're there knowing that you've probably got a speed disadvantage and knowing that it's going to be one more race and it's all over. You've got to try and make something happen. I think we're going to see some fireworks in the start, but it's going to be really difficult for them from here.
Let's go to chase boat 1. Nathan, what are you calling right now? What are you feeling?
Well, I think you're right, and everyone said it. Ben's going to have to get really aggressive in this start, but you know, his back is up against the wall for multiple reasons. He's in a slower boat. He's down 6-1. He's got to pull out some magic to get this one out of the bag. So looking up at the course right now, I can see Prada's sitting in the water, just sort of waiting for their time run to get into an entry. INEOS on the foil, already sailing. The breeze has maybe come up a click, but it's still below 11 knots. So you know, it could be a tough race coming up here, but never write Ben Ainsley off.
You can't find magic though, Shirley, can you? I mean, these guys have been slowly but surely tweaking this boat and making it in a boat, you know, from the Christmas regatta onto the round robin series. Everybody knows the miraculous turnaround, of which they deserve all the credit in the world. But it kind of feels like a dead end right now. Like, what else can you do? I think Paul said it best. You got to do something so special in the start that it puts the other person in an impossible spot. And we know that it's really, it's easy to say. It's almost impossible to do.
I mean, I can't think what he could do to Prada, which would stop them. They, you know, they have pace to burn. But saying that, I think the British unit are not going to give up without a fight. One more race to go. Ben Ainsley, you know, he can be ferocious when he wants to, and he's going to have to deliver something very special in this final, potentially final pre-start.
Race 8, not too far away. The Prada Cup final 2021.
They've got to try to get to tomorrow.
Let's turn up.
That's their whole goal here. Get to tomorrow, because all of a sudden the breeze is on. And when the breeze is on, we know how unpredictable this can be. We've seen crazy things happen when the breeze is on. So they got to figure out a way to get to tomorrow. That's their hope.
For me, they've got to try and get them off the foils in this pre-start. You've got to try and do something major. You've got to try and go for the hook. You've got to try and force an error from the Italians. And for me, the only option is to try and get them off the foils. Obviously, they don't want to come off the foils themselves because we know how hard it is for them to get back up. But for me, that looks like the only hope at the moment.
Yeah, got it. Getting 25.
Just under 60 seconds for
pressure's
port
back up a
entry
little bit now. I wonder whether we back off on the, you know, what we're talking about.
Yes, yeah, copy that.
Pirelli.
See how it goes.
Killing 19.
direction third, 90 square.
313 on the box end.
Trying to get a little strategy off of these boats. They're not giving us very much. It did sound like Ainsley and Scott were talking about something tricky. Let's give it a shot, he said. You never know, they might have something that they're going to pull out of their bag that we haven't seen yet.
Cannon.
Yeah, well, I would not hold anything back at this stage. If that's your shot, that's your shot.
Shot across the bows, make it a big one. Board entry for Luna Rossa Prada Pirelli. They're allowed in on 2 minutes and 10 seconds, as it has been for these regattas, and away they come in, sitting just under 40 knots. On the right-hand side, starboard entry will be INEOS Team UK. So let's see if the question is answered. What can INEOS Team UK and Sabinazzi do to something dramatic to salvage this campaign and head into tomorrow?
We'll be coming around the bow in a minute.
Yep.
All right, we haven't seen this before, Nathan. This is a little bit of a tighter lead push position than we've ever seen. So they might have some little trick up their sleeve.
Just on starboard leg.
Yeah, for sure. They're going to push hard on this. I think Goody's right. They've got to get them off the foils if they want a chance in this race.
A minute. He's inside starboard leg for us. Left shift.
2, 1.
17 to boundary. 16 to boundary, 10
Port down,
closest.
port down. Got it.
Pressure even on the course.
Coming up in.
Clearing board then?
Yep.
Starboard
Okay,
tack
going board.
Prada. They had to jive early there on Ainsley's boat. He's the one who's vulnerable to a hook right now.
Trimming up.
Actually jived himself in kind of a tough spot. Early back.
Killing 9 to the pin.
Your wheel.
My wheel.
Watch him on the down. Get on this breeze, get on this breeze.
Coming on this breeze.
No, don't, come on, too much. Okay, nice, mate.
We got him good.
Yeah.
Nice there, 26s, boys. No problem here.
Building here now.
Yeah, 26s. Okay,
They're going to bear away and do a port tack start, so they think that Ainsley's actually on time at this stage.
Nice pressure here.
He's actually given into a port tack start on the Italian
we're
side.
early here. Yeah. Easy touch. Just make sure he doesn't lock us out here. Okay.
Still early.
They are both early. There's no question they're both early. Both could be starting on port tack at this stage. Ainsley might not be out of the woods yet.
Come out of this.
Okay, got it.
No, don't think so.
Protest up from Luna Rossa at the start of race 8.
Yeah, I will try it.
I will.
No lower.
Whoa!
Okay, good angle.
Coming to the line.
Game on, race 8.
Hang on, boys.
He got
Port starboard. Ainsley was still so early, he had to tack.
The Italian boat crossed the line early. They must slow down 50 meters.
20 knots here at the moment.
Yeah, it's just super low here.
Okay, boundary 35 away.
Split tack start, race number 8.
Italy OCS have about 20 meters to kill.
Good speed there.
20 meters, do it out.
Okay, 20.
Yes.
Breeze is a little to the left.
The boys in
boundary
umpire
tack here.
Richard's
Looking to
latest
keep
only
it
got
simple
20
from
minutes to
here.
burn on that penalty for crossing the line early.
Italy, this is the umpires. Italy, you still have about 17 kill. Clear, penalty complete.
Down. Clear, go boys, go.
Copy that.
Okay, going board. My pit, 22s, my wheel.
Let's go back to the start. Let's try and figure out what went down.
This is going to be a tough one to figure out.
Got him just ahead of crosswind.
Do that shortly. First cross coming. Race 8, Prada Cup final.
We're too close to try and tackle him here, unfortunately.
Got to be fast. Is he a duck or not?
Small duck, come fast.
Yeah, coming down. Yeah. Fast here. He's pressing a little.
Coming on the breeze now.
On the breeze.
Nice there.
Nice.
Well, surely they got ahead. I don't know how they did it, quite frankly. In that start, they were in a really vulnerable spot. It looked like a port starboard to me. We'll try to get Richard Slater in here in a bit to talk about that whole pre-start. There were buttons being pushed, fouls being accused, and at the end of the day, INEOS got what they needed to get. They got ahead on that first cross. Let's see if they can hold them back. Here it is. Here's Luna Rossa on starboard, INEOS on port.
Yeah, I will try that.
boy, that's a tricky one for me. If they get in here, they get over the line early. We got Richard Slater with us right now. Richard, talk about this port starboard.
Yeah, Ken, we had a GBR were able to cross, and then Italy at the last, after they tacked, altered course up, which means they've got to give them the room to keep clear. So we treat it as in our terms, a Rule 16 protection on GBR.
So Richard, aren't they allowed to start the race though? Couldn't they head up to start the race?
I'm not understanding your question fully, Kenny. They've allowed.
Well, watch, they have to turn up to go start at the pin here. So aren't they allowed to turn up and start the race at the pin? They don't have to go below the starting line, do they?
They had to go through. No, they had to actually go through the line, which they did. So they started correctly, and then Italy's attack or change of course was what suddenly made it become a collision course.
Okay. Well, we've had a change of scenery here while we were going trying to figure out that start. The fast boat all of a sudden got fast again, Shirley.
I think he'll go straight.
Just want to try and build a little killer.
Okay, yeah. Formas from now on, guys.
Okay, we're looking one and in left here. Building in 10.
So despite the penalty, despite the protest, despite being behind, look who's leading on the first leg of race number 8. Luna Rossa, Prada Pirelli.
Good pressure coming here. Little press again. Yeah. Getting a lefty. This looks good up there.
The British team needed to do more. I mean, a 50-meter head start. It's not going to be enough, Stephen.
My rake, my drop, good tech.
Aero mode when you can, boys.
Well, we have been saying flawless, but the start was not flawless for Luna Rossa, Prada Pirelli. Probably the first time in a long time as they head towards the top gate.
The Brits come back on starboard tack here. This is kind of a final shot at this. I hate to say that so early in the race, but
yeah, we can go right gate.
Once Luna Rossa gets away, they just tend to extend.
Yeah, no problem with it.
It looks like an easy cross at this stage coming into gate number 1.
So this is the top gate for the first time in race number 8 of the Prada Cup final. And it is Luna Rossa, Prada Pirelli rounding the top gate for the first time. It's close, very close. But INEOS Team UK are going to have to be a lot closer. They're going to have to get past that very fast boat that's on its way down on the downward leg. INEOS around the top gate.
Your wheel. Okay. Okay, powering up. Okay. BMG taking this pressure down this boundary. Doesn't look light for him over there.
Yep. Keep pushing, boys.
Just looking at the race course now as they head downwind, it does look like the INEOS guys are heading towards more pressure as they get over here. Luna Rossa do look a little bit softer, so I'd expect it to close up just a little bit at this next intersection.
Be sailing into a little bit lighter breeze. 20 seconds. Good gains here, lads.
It sounds like the afterguard of INEOS agrees with you, Goody. And Nathan, down in the water, are you seeing kind of the same thing? Everything checking out?
Yeah, it does. It does seem like there's a click more breeze over on this side of the course. We're rumbling down the boundary right now, and it looked like INEOS will make an initial gain, but now they've jibed, and now they have to go across to that other side of the course, which is a little bit lighter. And towards the bottom of the course, you know, Prada's going to probably make a small gain. It's still pretty close, but it's hard to imagine that this isn't going to play out the way that the previous race played out, with Luna Rossa just slowly stretching out. Just really smooth manoeuvres on that first beat. They didn't seem stressed at all when they were behind. They just waited, let the boat speed do the work for them, and they're back in front again.
We're going to have to do something pretty special here, Jello. So.
Well, we heard the voice of skipper Ben Ains. They were going to have to do something special. They need some magic now.
Yeah, copy.
Still like the pressure here, Killer.
Might be able to save a jibe on him here as well.
I think Nathan was right. There was no stress or panic on the Italian boat when they got that penalty.
Yeah, keep riding this out.
They won the start, they came back, they got the first cross, but we heard Giles Scott saying we're not far enough ahead to leap out or to tack on them. All of a sudden you lose control. You let the fast boat split. We were talking about it before, Shirley, that as a tactician, you just love having a fast boat. Kind of make you look smart wherever you go.
Yeah, they needed a bit more distance there. Then they could have tacked on them and controlled them on the racetrack.
The other word you mentioned too, Kenny, that has been so important, control.
It's closed up. INEOS, more breeze. Look at the lead now. It's so close.
Downwind leg for the first time in the 8th race.
I don't think he's laying from the... No, he's not laying.
Not much in this, Nathan. Nice little close-up by... That's not right off the British podium right now.
I think he won a bit.
Yeah, it is getting closer, and it all comes down to the lay line at the bottom, Mark. If INEOS are laying here, which I can't tell from where I am, if they lay, they save a manoeuvre. If they have to jibe again, we're going to get a split at the bottom, Mark. So either way, good news for INEOS supporters right now.
Good pressure here. Good gains, lads.
They are going to get a split here. No question about it. Remember, this is not the gate that they're going through right now. That was the start line.
Lay line on the boxes.
The actual gate is to the right side of our screen.
Just going left there, so you've got to be a little bit careful this one.
My rudder. My trev.
Rossa, Prada Pirelli heading towards the bottom gate for the first time to complete 2 legs of 6.
Good pressure around here.
Not too much in this one.
Turning up there. 3.
You know that INEOS Team UK will not give up. They will hang in and hang in all the way. It was 12 seconds at the top gate. Have they made gains? 12 seconds at the bottom gate. So yes, nothing in it, but they need more.
And the maneuverable boat is going to just stay right with them now. This is about as big a split as we're going to see for the rest of this race. Goody, you think you keep mentioning it. You think that bigger jib that INEOS is kind of forced to sail with to power that boat up. You think it's an advantage downwind, don't you?
Yeah, you can see that quite clearly from up above. They're just able to exit their jibes a little lower and just get lower wind angle. Big VMG gain, but on the flip side, as you're going upwind, there's quite a lot more drag through the tack, and then it takes a lot longer to accelerate afterwards. So you make a small gain downwind, but I think they might pay for it a little bit up this speed if they're forced into more tacks.
You leave out tacks, coming up. Just keep it at about 30
high mode here, which is fine.
Nathan, they like that left side of the race course. At least they don't mind that left side of the race course, do they?
Got an intersection 20 out.
Nah, it looks pretty obvious that Prada, Jimmy and Bruni are very keen to protect the left side of the course. It is probably a click windier over there, but it was also a great opportunity to tack on their competition, give them a bit of dirty air and try and gain a few more meters. They're definitely not leaving anything to chance out here, that's for sure.
Feels like race 1 of the Prada Cup finals when Luna Rossa were in complete control. Follow me, we'll cover you all day.
They lose so little. I guess, Paul, what do you think the loss is, the net VMG losses in these tacks? Is it? I've been told that it could be as little as 5 meters once the breeze is up a bit. But in this lighter air, what do you think they lose every time they tack?
In this sort of breeze, the 8-10 knots, it goes up quite a lot. You ain't seen like a 60-meter loss at times. As soon as you're seeing those 12 knots, then yeah, you can get down to those very, very small losses of around 10 meters. But in these conditions, you'd expect if you have to hit another tack, it's going to be an extra 60, 70 meters. And that's if you execute one well.
Yeah, copy that. So we've got 30 any time here, I think.
It's building a bit of speed. Yep. Stand by.
Crossing.
2, 1. Port down. Turning. Okay, he's taxed.
Surely the Italians are going to just nail them right here. They're going to go right on top of them and force them back to the short side of the race course, which is the top of the race course, right where that boundary is. Sure enough.
Exactly.
On cue.
Running out of options here on this leg. Just watching the distance so slowly growing between them on this upwind leg.
It's nothing radical. That was really interesting when we were looking at the numbers of the last race, how the boat speeds are actually really similar. Just a little deeper downwind, a little higher upwind, especially upwind. There's no question. I know we keep repeating ourselves on that, but it is really, when you're match racing and you have that little bit of height, oh my goodness, it's like the keys to the candy shop. You know, it's gold. It's fantastic.
Well, the goal today will be the Prada Cup.
Just about with options back from the other lane.
And inside that cup will be a key to the America's Cup match. And at this particular point in time, it's favouring Rossa Prada Pirelli, heading towards the halfway stage of this 8th race in the Prada Cup Final 2021 on the Hauraki Golf.
A little soft out of this, boys.
Copy. My rake, my drum.
Kind of like top left, eh? Surrounding.
Yeah. Yeah. Focus on performance here, guys.
Yep.
1 and in left. Nothing to worry about. Coming up a little bit.
Calm, cool, and collected. But we've seen in the past where when Bruni sounds calm, his heart rate is actually going through the roof. We'll try to dig up some of these numbers right now and see how calm he actually is.
A good boat on him.
I've got to say one thing.
As he said in a message the other night,
to worry
the Italians
about.
wear their heart on the sleeve.
To worry about. Confidence.
And Francesco's a true representative of that. We were joking earlier about Chris Brittle's heart rate and Francesco's heart rate being on a similar level when one's a grinder, the other's a helmsman. But you really see that flair for him. But it's coming across to the rest of the team, the cool, calm, and collected, just settling everybody down.
Down to 90 on the 89 on the heart rate right now, Goody, and so it's actually almost kind of normal. Didn't see that 122 that we were seeing before. 1 and in for these guys right now, just one tacking in, and minimize these maneuvers as much as you can if you're the boat in front right now.
Rossa Prada Pirelli about to get to the halfway stage of race number 8. They are 3 legs away from a race win and to be crowned the Prada Cup champions and official challenger for the America's Cup. Still 3 legs to go, though. They round the top gate and head down on leg number 4.
Little soft. Good reach. Okay. Good pressure.
INEOS Team UK heading to that top gate. They are now halfway through the race, but they are still the hunter.
Big down in 5, 4, 3, 2, 1. Your wheel. Yep. Okay. Hang on. Nice. 5. Your pitch.
A boat that, when it came out, Shirley, the INEOS boat, when it came out of the shed, the whole world kind of gasped. I mean, in a way, it's kind of interesting where the Prada boat has always looked like more of a boat to me. You know, the INEOS boat looks like, sure enough, a big influence by, let's say, a Mercedes Formula One team or something like that. I mean, just this crazy radical shape, these air tubes underneath that's feeding air somewhere into the boat. From a windage standpoint, just a radical hull shape that nobody's ever seen before. Just a crazy looking boat that may have an Achilles heel in light air, has had an Achilles heel in lighter air.
I mean, they have some incredibly smart people in all the teams, but you know they do have them in INEOS, and perhaps, Kenny, they just kind of ran out of time. And we look at the Italian boat here, the Challenger record. They have a few more months insight into what the boat was going to be, what the design was going to look like, and you know they're a more polished unit.
And when we talk about design, we have said this before. The difference between Luna Rossa's Boat 1 and the difference between Boat 2 was minimal. They felt from the get-go they had a boat that could perform. And it is.
Yeah, race committee, can we move the helicopter?
Thinking about going here, guys. Stand by. 3, 2, 1. More down.
Soft out of this, boys. Put off a power.
Nathan, you and I talked about this a while ago, how the same point that Shirley just brought out, how the two boats were so similar between Hull 1 and Hull 2 of the Prada team, where all the rest of the teams were radical changes from Hull 1 to Hull 2. It really shows they had that belief, that early belief in what they were doing, and really took a completely different tack as to how their evolution, their design evolution was going to happen.
Yeah, you're right, Ken. The fact that they've been able to just make refinements to Boat 1. You know, as you say, every other team's made huge changes to the hull shapes and things like that. And I think that comes back to the fact that they were involved in writing the protocol and the rule. They knew a lot more about what this America's Cup was going to look like than the other challengers, and so it's probably no surprise to them and the other teams that they had an advantage, and this advantage is actually being shown on the race course right now, and that's why in the America's Cup, being the challenger of record and working with the defender, writing the rule, gives you that advantage, and that's why they went after that hard. When Emirates Team New Zealand were in Bermuda racing, they'd already done the deal. They wanted to get that advantage so that they could challenge them when they came to Auckland, and here they are. They're looking very slick. That boat looks very nice. Sailing team's doing a great job, and we always talk about these events are not won at the events. They're won in the years and the lead up to it, and this is a classic example of years of development and years of hard work giving you tiny little gains that are resulting to meters around the race course.
And the meters are piling up right now, Shirley. You know, that slow trickle, that slow, painful death at this stage. It's not in big chunks ever. It's a meter at a time.
Luna Rossa Prada Pirelli applying the vice grips to INEOS Team UK. They are about to complete leg number 4 of 6 and start out on the upwind leg for the final time. It was 34 seconds at the top gate. And around they go again. But they're going around the cones and a Luna's driver's course, and just really nice and simple.
Good pressure straight ahead.
We get tight over here, all the spectators are turned.
Might not be quick enough for this, Jake.
Interesting commentary, Nathan. They're talking about that outgoing tide that you pointed out before the first race over on the right-hand side of the race course, where Luna Rossa is heading towards. That boats are turning on their anchors, on their moorings.
INEOS Team
You can see that from down at the water. Sorry there, Stephen. Yeah, you can see it down on the water here. All the spectator boats have changed direction, so we're nearing peak flood at the moment, or peak ebb as you call it. The current's coming out, so small advantage to that right-hand side for the current. That's what Jimmy was referring to. But the wind still looks stronger on the left, so really it's a pretty even track.
10 seconds here, just building a bit.
It's amazing. The sailors aren't just thinking about what's happening inside the race course. They're using the spectators and anything else they can see out here as indicators on where they should be going around this course.
Pause. What do you think, Keller? It's pretty even, eh? A little bit on left to me. For pressure. We'll do a sort of a looser cover here.
Yeah.
Just dig into this a bit more.
Now we have landing this left.
Stand by. 3, 2, 1. We'll take this.
Goody, you in the last last America's Cup, you were on the Artemis team with Francesco Bruni. I mean, we've been so impressed with him here. He seems so cool, very methodical, and seems to have the entire team with him. I mean, tell us a little bit about the man and how much this is going to be meaning to him.
I think this is going to mean the world to him and to Italy. He's a bit of a perfectionist. He breaks everything down. He's very analytical, but he's also very passionate. And this is the biggest change I've seen in him in this America's Cup from last time. Last time he's very passionate, very exuberant, and this time it just seems like a much quieter, more focused, and he's getting the job done. I'm sure once they cross the finish line of this race, we'll see a little bit more passion from him, but it's impressed me how he's got this cool, calm, collected side while they're racing at the moment. If we just look out to the west here, we can see that the defenders have just armed up and taken a little break and just watching the scenes unfold in front of them.
For all the right reasons. Nathan, you sailed 49ers against Pietro Sibello a lot, the main trimmer tactician on Luna Rossa. All of a sudden, we're hearing Spithill call him Killer. Why did they call him Killer?
Kenny, that must be a new nickname. I've never heard that one before. As you say, Pietro and I have stood on the podium several times side by side in the 49er class. He's a fantastic sailor, and it's great to see him really getting involved. And I honestly think the more we hear of that voice, the better that boat's going. So maybe it's the killer instinct that's coming out in Pietro that's making all the difference at the moment.
They're slowly coming up now.
The lead sits at just over 300. Well, it keeps on ticking up a little bit. 367 metres right now in favour of Luna Rossa Prada Pirelli on the penultimate leg of race number 8.
Pressure.
It's more than just smelling the chance to challenge Emirates Team New Zealand now. I can use that cliche. They can probably taste it right now.
Like the top left, though, around the mark, Killer.
Yeah, right, is here right now.
Okay, we'll hold now on this righty then.
Yeah.
Still one of them wheelie job.
Yeah.
Good pressure over here. 3, 2, 1.
We questioned at length, Shirley, at the beginning of this whole circuit, the two helmsperson situation, and frankly a lot of people thought it was an insane idea. Others thought it was creative and maybe the coolest idea they'd seen in a long time. I don't think anybody was in between. Anybody said, yeah, I think it might kind of work. It was very polarizing, wasn't it?
It seemed so flawed in those early round robins, didn't it? They made, mistake after mistake, but saying that, there's 2 months of refinement, plenty of time on the water, plenty of time in the simulator, and now it's working well. They're a solid unit.
And we're talking about they're coming up against a defender that has a single helmet, men going across to left to right as Luna Rossa Prada Pirelli heading to the top gate for the final time. They are pointing the nose of that beautiful boat downward and they're heading home. And you know what they're heading home for? The prize, the Prada Cup.
My runner.
This guy Spithill's been there a few times before. I think he has been in the America's Cup in the last 3 cups, winning 2 of 3. How's my stats there, Shirley?
He's won 2 America's Cups, both with Oracle. But he's been competing as a skipper in the America's Cup since his early 20s. He's
2000.
Yeah, he's been a lifetime career's work in this cup.
For the final time, INEOS Team UK round the top gate and head home. But they won't be heading home to a victory parade. They'll be heading home to ask questions. What happened? Pre-Christmas, they were nowhere. Post-Christmas, they were everywhere. They were suddenly the favourites. And now, on a Sunday afternoon in the Hauraki Gulf, it's going to be over.
Boundary jibe here, lads.
Just spot on boundary.
20 seconds.
Copy. Pitch. Yep.
Stephen, you know, we're not supposed to be partisan on this host broadcast feed, and whilst all my respect and congratulations go to Jimmy and Bruni and the team at Luna Rossa, I'm sad to see this, to see the British team exit the Cup at this stage. They've been through a lot. We've lived it with them. They put in the hours. And we've talked about Ben and Giles, but there's a lot of other guys in that team. Nick Hutton, Freddie Carr, the real foot soldiers of campaigns like this. And this will hurt. This is painful for all those guys on board. We heard from Sir Jim Ratcliffe in yesterday's broadcast, and my hope is a bright future for this team. They've brought in new talent and guys like Braden Mon doing the main sheet. Giles Scott, we've heard him step up massively. And I really hope that this is the beginning of a long Cup journey for this very, very talented unit.
So a somber moment on board, but it's not done yet. The race is not finished, but now this is all about one team, one boat. Luna Rossa Prada Pirelli, the challenger of record, extending their lead on INEOS Team UK in race number 8 of the Prada Cup final 2021 on the Waitemata Harbour, framed by a spectator fleet that had been treated to once again a slick, competent performance. Precision at its best. One little mistake in the first race, going upwind on attack, didn't matter. They adjusted in the blink of an eye and kept on going. And now on the final leg, they're heading to the match.
Got to start thinking ahead here. Emirates Team New Zealand, what are they thinking? They're as Goody said, they're sitting out there on the water watching this race, probably parked right now. They've been creating strategies against both of these boats, most likely. Well, it's strategy A, strategy B. Well, guess what? It's strategy A. We're going against Prada. We know they're great in this light stuff. We as sailing fans, as sport fans, are just hoping for a great match.
Bigger pressure.
The Challenger Series is all about, you know, the time spent creating, you know, the best performing team. And I guess we look forward to seeing if it's good enough.
And that could be the key in front of you right there.
Nice
Twin
one,
helmsman,
come on,
who finally figured out if you
time
get
to
it right,
I-5.
you find your communication, you can sail this boat fast.
Sì, siamo italiani. Che cavolo.
Here we go. It's a
Che
done
cavolo
deal
ho detto,
in 2021. For only the second time in their history, Luna Rossa will make the match and be the official challenger for the America's Cup and take on Emirates Team New Zealand. Only the second time the challenger of record has made the match. The last time, 1972. Spittle, Bruni, Sibello have done the job. They're going to the big show.
Grandi ragazzi. Bravi, bravo Jimmy. Bravo Jimmy.
Great work, boys.
Bravo Killer. Bravi tutti tranne Voltolini. Voltolini e Picciotto.
I think we saw some high fives.
Bravi ragazzi.
There was whooping, there was high fives. They've been so cool throughout this entire series. But not anymore.
It was great to watch all their heads popping up out of it. It's probably the first time they've seen a race course, all the grinders there. They pop their heads out just to see that finish and take it all in.
And for INEOS Team UK, 170 years of hurt continues.
It's going to turn up here.
They are done. 4 years, training, development, pain physically, pain mentally, and for that man who has led this team so proudly, INEOS Team UK
Sorry, guys.
are out.
Not going to happen. Fucking good effort, though. Smoke, mate. Good work, brother. Oh, good. Oh, good.
Oh, puttana. Forza Palermo! Forza Palermo!
Right, boys, let's spin up and get these sails down so we can head in for a beer.
Bravo!
And there you go. The man with the boxing kangaroo says it all. Time for a beer. And why not? Luna Rossa, Prada Pirelli. Win race number 8 by 56 seconds and win the Prada Cup with a scoreline of 7 race wins to 1 against INEOS Team UK.